everyone. Welcome to Money Talks. I'm your host, Bill Barhydt, founder and CEO of Abra. This is our last show of March 2022. The year is flying by. So for many of us, especially in the US, tax day is looming. So today we're going to cover taxes, at least for those of you who are US based, and may give you some insights if you're outside the US about what drives crypto markets during tax season, because it does have an impact. And we've got some big news on the product front. Abra now offers C-Perks staking in Abra Earn. So it's a great new way to earn yield on your Abra Perks rewards. We'll check in with the Abra team to explain how it all works in just a few minutes. Of course, Natalie Brunell, Abra's Bitcoin analyst, is here and will break down Bitcoin's latest price move and other exciting happenings in the world of Bitcoin. As always, I'll offer my take on what's happening in the crypto markets. If we have some time, we'll get into some news. And of course, we'll take your questions live in the chat in the AMA at the end of the show. And before I start, I need to point out we never give out financial or accounting advice. So please be smart. Nothing I mention on the show or talk about should be taken as legal tax advice. It's just information. That information should help you go out and find what's right for you by finding the right accountant, tax advisor. You should always work with a tax advisor or accountant familiar with crypto and digital assets. There are now plenty of them available. They're there to help and they're easy to find. All right, so let's dive in. Okay, 2021 was a huge year for crypto. More than half of current Bitcoin investors bought their first crypto last year. So for most people, it's relatively easy to account for crypto on their tax returns. But there are some key differences that more active traders and hodlers need to know about before filing. So if you only bought crypto with US dollars and held it at Abra or on an exchange, then you won't owe any taxes, most likely, and you don't have to report it, most likely, at least not yet. That's the easy way to deal with this, not so. Now, things could get a bit trickier, though, if you've traded one cryptocurrency for another cryptocurrency, if you've sold your crypto for US dollars, or bought anything with cryptocurrency. Those are most likely for you all taxable transactions if you live inside the United States or file taxes as an American. The IRS treats cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum as property. That means you'll owe taxes when they're sold at a profit. Now, there is a bipartisan bill working its way through the US legislature right now that would eliminate the taxes on these capital gains if they're less than $200 as a way to encourage wider crypto adoption and transactional use. That's great. In other words, if you spend Bitcoin via Lightning for that proverbial cup of coffee or stablecoin for that coffee that you're holding, that there's no taxable event for that type of transaction. But for now, the amount you owe in capital gains taxes depends on whether or not you've held your crypto for more than a year or not. If you've held your crypto for less than a year, it is taxed at a short-term capital gains rate, which is generally more expensive. If you held onto the crypto for longer than 12 months, you'd most likely qualify for a long-term capital gains rate that's lower than most income taxes, depending on your taxable income. And just like any other investment, if you sell your crypto at a loss, you can deduct a capital loss to help offset other taxes. Now, this is an important point, and there are actually some differences with crypto when it comes to what we call tax loss harvesting, which I'll get into in a moment. So to be clear, this can get a little complicated. Right? Sorry, little bit of a conflict in terms there. But if you purchase anything with crypto, anything, it counts as a sale of that crypto. So you could be on the hook for capital gains taxes if the value of the crypto increased between the time you purchased the crypto and the time you spent it on a physical item or some service, on top of any applicable sales taxes that you may owe for whatever you purchased. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Well, I don't agree with the tax laws, but hopefully what I said is understandable. If you mine crypto or have received it as payment, it's considered part of your normal taxable income. You will owe taxes on the crypto's fair market value the day you received it. This also relates to C-Perks, and many of you have questions about the C-Perks airdrop. We'll get into that in a second. So let's start with Abra Earn. For most of you in the US, any income you receive through Abra Earn is generally considered ordinary income for tax reporting purposes. And if you receive more than $600 worth of interest in any given tax year, right? Meaning if you receive more than $600 worth of interest in 2021 in Abra Earn, you will receive a 1099 form in the mail from Abra and Prime Trust. If you haven't received that form and believe that you are supposed to receive one, then you should contact support immediately after Money Talks via the Abra app, and they will arrange to have a 1099 sent to you if the if the income you received is more than $600. That doesn't mean you don't have to file if it's less than 600. It just means that you don't receive a 1099 from us, okay? Now, hopefully that's clear. If you have questions about the 1099 vis-a-vis Abra Earn, please ask them in the live chat and I'll try to answer. So I also get a lot of questions, and my team gets a lot of questions about C-Perks and the C-Perks airdrop. We published an FAQ in the Abra app and on the Abra website about the C-Perks airdrop and taxes. So if you go to the normal if you go to the normal Abra FAQ and do a search on CPRX and taxes, you'll find the FAQ I'm talking about. Because the market value of C-Perks was far less than 1 penny at the time of the airdrop, none of us should owe any taxes whatsoever on the airdrop. Okay. Again, you can look at the FAQ entry to see the details on the fair market value of C-Perks at the time of the airdrop. But as I said, it's significantly less than 1 penny per C-Perks, which means that in the aggregate, you should not owe any taxes on the C-Perks airdrop. Okay. The amount that it traded for after the airdrop is not the relevant number. Okay. C-Perks was not liquid. It's not liquid now because it's a relatively new currency. It's widely held, but it's not being widely sold, okay? So we have to basically use different factors to determine the fair market value, which is what we did, working with external counsel and accountants, okay? Lastly, generally speaking, cashback rewards are not taxable. So if you earn points, miles, cashback rewards, C-Perks that you earn from making purchases like trades, those are generally not taxable. The IRS considers these rewards to be a discount. That means that C-Perks you earn via Abra Perks by using Abra should generally not be taxable. Okay, so hopefully all of that makes sense. And again, if you have questions about anything I just said, please ask in the live stream chat, and I'll try to get to them at the end of this segment. There are 3 things you can do to make tax time as pain-free as possible when it comes to crypto. 1, definitely keep track of every transaction. That's pretty obvious. You can do this manually, creating a spreadsheet with how much you paid, how long you held, how much you sold it for, and the transaction receipts. Abra also gives you the ability to download your complete transaction history at any time. Now, for many of you, or most of you, you've actually deposited crypto into Abra. That means we can't show you the profit and loss for any crypto you deposited because we don't know what you paid for it. However, at least the spreadsheet that you can download from Abra shows you the transactions you did on the Abra side, which you can then merge with transactions you may have done via a third-party exchange, okay? You can also use third-party software tools to keep track of all this. Tools like CoinTracker, Coinly automatically keep track for you and fill out the appropriate forms you need at tax time. And so that should merge the Abra transactions with maybe your Coinbase or other third-party exchange transactions to figure out the combination of your cost basis and your sale basis in order to figure out what taxes you might owe. But as I mentioned earlier, it is definitely best to hire a pro tax advisor and/or an accountant, especially if you've traded in large amounts. You don't want to be dealing with all of this craziness yourself. Hiring a CPA who specializes in crypto can prevent a lot of future headaches, a lot of trouble with the IRS if you've made money with crypto. The IRS is highly focused on this. It can be well worth the money and time saved alone, not to mention the satisfaction of knowing your taxes are done correctly. So if you're doing your own taxes, make sure you fill out the proper forms. There are a few forms you need to know about. 8949 logs every purchase or sale of crypto. Schedule D is for capital gains, including crypto. And Schedule C is for coins you may have received from mining, such as Bitcoin. You'll need to report whether you mine the coins as a hobby or part of a business. Okay, and that business part is important. We'll come back to that in a moment. So now that we've covered how to pay your taxes, here are some tips on how to pay less taxes next year. First is to HODL. If you don't sell, you don't owe any taxes. However, try to hold on for at least a year before selling, as you probably will qualify for a lower tax rate on the capital gains. You can offset your gains with losses, right? So you might have some losing investments in your portfolio. It happens to all of us. They don't even have to be crypto. And you can unload at a loss if you want to cash in on a big crypto investment and offset with those losses. If you end up losing substantially more than you gain in a year, you can deduct up to $3,000 in the excess losses against your personal income taxes, as well as carry forward any unused losses to offset future investment gains. Now, wash trading is a no-no in equities and stocks, right? Meaning back-to-back trades meant to generate losses and then start the clock again on gains does not count against your taxes. The IRS doesn't recognize that. However, with crypto, that isn't true. In other words, you can sell for a loss at 9 a.m., immediately buy back at 9:01 a.m. and report the loss on your taxes. Now, I assume this loophole will eventually go away, but for now, the loophole is there. It's referred to as tax loss harvesting, and a lot of people are doing it. I don't need to do it. I'm simply not selling, so it's not a problem. But for those of you who are, I know many people have done this in order to basically create a tax loss event to offset gains. Now, as far as I know, again, please speak to a tax accountant / tax advisor who knows this. But my understanding is that is perfectly legal in crypto. Well, it's not. It doesn't basically generate the loss in equities. And at some point, that loophole will probably go away because the IRS doesn't like loopholes that cost the Treasury money. The third option is to donate to charity. You can deduct the full amount of any crypto you donate, including gains. Right, that's pretty cool. And you can consider using a company like the Giving Block for donations. We've had them on the show. The co-founder, Alex Wilson, great guy, love the company. His company makes it really easy to put your crypto to good use for almost any cause you want to help out. Okay. All right. And then the fourth option, of course, is mining expenses. If you're a miner, the money you spend on computers, servers, electricity, and the internet connection can all be deducted. The deduction amount varies depending upon whether your operation, again, qualifies as a hobby or as a business. So if you're really doing this as a business, you can probably get even higher deductions for those expenses, right? And then lastly, you should time your tax rate, kind of a bonus point. If you've retired, gone back to school, moved to a state with a lower tax rate, you might find yourself in a lower tax bracket. A lot of our friends here in crypto land have moved to Miami or Puerto Rico, and they've timed their crypto sales to coincide with those moves to tax-friendlier jurisdictions. Okay, I happen to live in California, which is not a tax-friendly jurisdiction. Okay, all right. So my light is flickering here, so hopefully that's not bothering all of you. Let's move on to taxes for NFTs for a moment, and then we'll come back to staking. All right. So the IRS has not released any specific guidance regarding NFTs. We're not even sure if they know what NFTs are. All right. But the tax implications of any specific NFT would depend on a few things. Whether you are creating or investing in NFTs, whether your interaction with the NFTs is a hobby or a business. For instance, the gas fees you pay to mint an NFT could be a taxable event. If you spend Ethereum that is worth more at the time of minting than you originally purchased that Ethereum for, then that's a capital gain. So spending it as gas, right, means you actually may end up having to pay taxes on that gas if you paid less for it than it was worth when you spent it. If you create a lot of NFTs as a business, the gas fees are treated as ordinary income. But these could also be considered business expenses. So again, back to the earlier point about tracking those business expenses. So if you're creating NFTs as a hobby, you're required to report any income, but you cannot deduct any business expenses related to it. But if you're running an NFT business, again, you can deduct business-related expenses from the creation and selling of the NFTs. So hopefully this is kind of making sense. There's a lot here. Selling an NFT or exchanging it for another NFT triggers another taxable event. Okay, it is taxed as income since you're earning or losing money from the sale. Any royalties you earn for an NFT you created would also be taxed as income. All right. So lastly, from a tax standpoint, investing in NFTs is very similar to investing in crypto. Your tax burden is determined by gains and losses you incur from buying and selling and how long you've held. All right, so as you can see, we're here to help and to try to navigate complicated tax laws. We're not your tax advisor, but we try to give you information that hopefully is more useful than not. If you have any tax liability from your Abra transactions, we'll automatically send you the forms you need. In fact, most, if not all of the forms for 2021 have already been sent out. If you still need them, please contact our customer support and we will make sure you have everything you need. All right, so that was exhausting. Hopefully it wasn't as exhausting for all of you, but that's where we are on taxes. So it's a lot of information in a short time. So let's switch gears and talk about something a little more exciting. All of us here at Abra are thrilled to announce a new feature to the platform, C-Perk staking. Joining me now is Priya Challa, our Director of Product here at Abra, to talk about how it works. Hey, Priya, thanks for coming on again. Good to see you again. So tell us about C-Perk staking.
Awesome. So essentially what users can do is your C-Perks tokens that you've earned through Abra Rewards, you can hold them in Abra Earn to earn 3% annual staking rewards. And these are paid out weekly as part of our Abra Earn program. There's no and limit to the number of C-Perks you can put in Abra Earn, and this applies for all users regardless of the loyalty tier. So the way it would work is, and I'm going to walk you through both the yields details and how, tactically you can do this in the app. So you open Abra app on home view, you select your transfer, pick the amount you want to transfer C-Perks from your trading account into your Earn account, and then that's it, confirm, and you're done. And I do want to note, because I did hear a lot of user questions that our support team was getting, any C-Perks tokens you actually put into Abra Earn count towards your tier calculation. So if you transfer your C-Perks from your trading account into your Earn, it doesn't affect your loyalty tier. Now, let me go through in depth about what the 3% APY means. Let's take an example of a user who's holding, say, 10,000 C-Perks, and they're earning, say, 3% APY in kind on their Cardano, and then they get a 2% yield boost for being in Orbit tier. When you open your Abra Earn app, you'll actually see two columns now. Before, we used to only show you your in-kind yield. Now, essentially, you'll see your effective yield, which is a combination of your in-kind yield on your asset and your yield that you're going to earn from the yield boost from Abra Rewards program. Now, in addition to these two, you can earn 3% APY in kind on your C-Perks.
Yeah.
So essentially, you're getting, you're earning yield boost from your crypto assets, and you're getting a yield on your C-Perks balance.
And to be clear, holding the C-Perks in Earn is the same as holding it in trade in terms of determining your reward tier or your member status.
Yes.
Right. So we're getting a lot of questions on that, even on the live chat. So let me just kind of say that again. So the amount of C-Perks you're holding in trade and Earn is all added together to determine the reward tier that you're at. Now, my understanding is that this is going very well, and we've had a lot of people move their C-Perks into Earn.
Yeah, so we launched this feature about a week ago, and we've actually seen significant interest across all loyalty tiers and users with varying levels of C-Perks balance. At this point, what I can share is we have about close to 60% of what we distributed as staked in the first week of launching this.
Wow. Okay. So in the first 4 days since launch, almost all, like literally 60% or almost 60% has already been staked in Abra Earn. That's incredible. So clearly we don't have to explain to people how to do it. So because people have figured out how to do it, that's fantastic. So can you just remind people how the different loyalty tiers work? Because we have a lot of new users on the live stream that are asking some basic questions. So just remind people how the different loyalty tiers work and what they mean.
Okay, awesome. So the way loyalty tiers work is you earn rewards from doing activities in the app like Abra Trade, putting your assets into Earn, or taking a loan from Abra. And as you earn rewards and you meet the criteria for a particular tier, which means our lowest tier starts at 20 C-Perks right now. And so if you have between 20 and 200 C-Perks, you get into the lowest tier, which is Ignite.
Yep.
As you earn more rewards, you have the opportunity to climb up into higher loyalty tiers to earn higher rewards.
Gotcha.
And that's how loyalty tiers work. And like Bill added, putting your rewards into Earn is going to keep your loyalty tiers intact, doesn't impact any of your C-Perks balance as it implies to calculation of your tiers.
Yep. Now, one user I noticed had a really good idea and question here is whether or not we can have C-Perks automatically added to Earn as opposed to Trade to skip the step of having to move it over to Earn. Is that something that you've considered?
Yes, we are. We actually have a whole bunch of roadmap and plan around adding more cool features to the utility of C-Perks and improving this experience. So thank you. This is actually, we considered this before launch, but to just get this out to our users quickly, we decided to kind of focus on the minimal experience, but this is definitely an improvement we're considering.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense. And so is there anything else that people should be aware of either before they stake or before they use Earn with C-Perks, or are they just good to go?
You're good to go. You've been an Abra user. It's the best way to earn more rewards on your C-Perks. Hold on to your C-Perks. For all the tax information that Bill just shared with us. Educated, and so I'm planning to hold on to all my C-Perks for a while. And so this is a great feature. You can get started. We have a FAQ on our website, which points to exactly the steps you need to do with all the screenshots. So it should be fairly straightforward to do this.
Yeah. So let me just address C-Perks taxes again, because I think it wasn't clear what I said earlier, and people are still asking questions about this. And I see Minion and a few other folks making the same comments. So C-Perks airdrop should not be a taxable event for anyone in the United States. Okay. If you go to the FAQ, there's a clear explanation as to why this is the case. All right. There's a fair market value, or FMV, of a token that's airdropped at the moment it's airdropped. And that is determined by a whole bunch of factors. It's not determined by me. It's not determined by Priya. It usually involves lawyers, tax accountants, and more tax accountants and lawyers who basically huddle up with engineering and figure out what's going on around factors like liquidity, existing market sales, was there a pre-sale, which here there was not. Anyway, in this particular case, they determined that the fair market value for C-Perks is way less than 1 penny, way less, okay? Which means in the aggregate, none of us have any reportable income as it relates to the C-Perks airdrop. Let me say that again. None of us, and I'm holding a huge amount of C-Perks, right, that I either bought or earned myself via Abra, and including me, own any taxes on our C-Perks that we received via the airdrop. If that's not clear, please ask questions again, but there is a very clear FAQ article on this on the Abra website, available on abra.com, also in the support section of the Abra app. Okay, so hopefully that was clear to all of you. We're getting a lot of people asking about distributions for rewards. Can you comment on how that works, the timing of distributions, and just in general, if you earn on Monday, when do you get your C-Perks?
Right. So the distribution that we generally try to target is a weekly distribution. we've recently, and a lot of these questions might be coming from last few weeks of distributions taking slightly longer than the weekly schedule. And we are working very hard to kind of get this all in motion correctly. So all users get the rewards they've earned. It's just a matter of the kind of going from a pending state to a completed distributed state in the app. But once you've earned your rewards, they will be distributed shortly. We try to keep a weekly schedule. So if you've earned interest on Monday, Tuesday is typically when we kick off our payment schedule.
Yeah. Okay. So I have to address this head on because I'm getting a little aggravated, and I don't get aggravated very often. Some of you are being very abusive to the Abra team and support team regarding your C-Perks distribution. This is a very complicated topic. The systems that are involved are very complex. I have no problem asking them to block anyone who's abusive. The team is working insanely hard to get C-Perks distributions correct. And I'm simply instructing the team, if anybody here has a genuine question about how it works, a genuine question about the distribution timing, which Priya just addressed, please ask. It's totally reasonable. Anybody that's abusive will simply be blocked. It's just wrong. Come on. I mean, this is a rewards token, and do what's right and be reasonable. And the Abra team is working extra hard to support all of you and make this an exciting product for all of us. And so, anything else you want to add here, Priya? Because this is super awesome. I've actually moved everything over to Abra Earn, and I'm super excited to get my 3% on my C-Perks as well.
Yeah. So this, like I said, this again will follow Abra Earn, payment schedule like all our other rewards. Super cool, super easy in the app. We work hard to make it even better and seamless pretty much. And we're looking into actually better ways to offer our overall tiers rate structure. So I think this is this should be really easy for our users and should add a lot of value for all our users.
Yep. Fantastic. Okay. So bottom line is those Abra Earn live for C-Perks, more features coming. Pending rewards are being backfilled, so onwards and upwards for Abra Perks. Thank you very much, Priya, for joining us, and really excited to have you back on in the coming weeks as we launch even more Abra Perks features.
Thank you so much, Phil. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Always good to see you. All right. So great. So let's see. Thanks again, Priya, for coming on. That was really helpful. And look, our goal at Abra is to create the easiest, safest, all-in-one crypto platform, right? We've made it as easy as possible to add funds to your account using whatever method works best for you. All right, so take a look.
Funding your Abra account is easy. Just open the app, then tap Add Money. To buy with your Visa or MasterCard, tap the app. Click Bitcoin through Simplex. Open in your web browser. Enter the amount, then paste your Abra wallet address and tap Continue. To transfer money from your bank account, tap on ACH Transfer, add a new bank account, Continue. Then select your bank. Enter your username and password. Confirm your identity with a code. Select account, enter an amount, and confirm. For a wire transfer, tap Bank Wire Transfer. Then tap Wire Instructions. Log on to your bank's online banking page, then initiate a wire transfer. Follow the instructions on the Abra app to input your account, then send your wire. Transferring crypto is simple. Tap Deposit Cryptocurrency, then select the coin you're transferring. The Abra app gives you the receive address to send your funds to. Funding is easy with Abra.
All right, welcome back. Cool video. So Abra Bitcoin analyst Natalie Brunell is here to talk about a stablecoin's planned $10 billion Bitcoin buy, a crackdown on electricity thieves in Malaysia, and Bitcoin market moves. How's it going, Natalie?
Hi, Bill. Thanks so much for having me. So much actually happened at the end of this week. So I want to get right into some of these really big Bitcoin headlines that are developing and making people really excited about Twitter. So first of all, I hope that everyone saw the clip of Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's interview on CNBC. This was very, very bullish for Bitcoin. I think it probably caused the spike over $45,000 today. She said, quote, "Crypto has grown by leaps and bounds and is now playing a significant role in the investment decisions of lots of Americans. We would like to create a regulatory environment in which healthy innovation can continue. And she referenced the executive order on crypto that was recently signed by President Joe Biden that she supported. And this is a positive turnaround because just about a year ago, I don't know if you saw her on programs calling Bitcoin, quote, extremely inefficient and warning about the dangers that crypto posed to both the public and investors. So if you haven't seen those clips, you can head to Squawk Box from CNBC. They posted it, and also MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor reshared it. Meanwhile, we also heard from Senator Cynthia Lummis this week. She is one of the biggest Bitcoin proponents in Washington, D.C., and she is pairing with Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who's actually a Democrat, so this is going to be bipartisan, working on legislation that aims to give the industry regulatory clarity. This is something I know institutions are crying out for, and this was announced at a Politico Live event last night. Gillibrand said that the legislation would create a framework that addresses safety and soundness, consumer protections, and certainty for markets. So again, really bullish news. And in other big news this week, we saw headlines about a Russian lawmaker who said the nation could accept Bitcoin for oil or natural gas payments. Now, this isn't an official statement from Vladimir Putin, but this lawmaker said this during a press conference, and we saw Bitcoin surge past $44,000 shortly after the statements were made public. And this development is really something that a lot of prominent Bitcoiners have been forecasting for a long time. One of my favorite voices in the space is author Jeff Booth, who wrote The Price of Tomorrow. He's been talking about oil eventually being priced in Bitcoin for a long time. So I highly recommend checking out his work and forecasts. But anyway, the lawmaker, his name is Pavel Zavalny. He made the comment during a news conference and said that Bitcoin could be one alternative that Russia could accept as payment for oil and other commodities. And he added that amid sanctions, Russia could essentially sell gas to the West for rubles and gold. He distinguished between how Russia would transact with friendly versus unfriendly countries. And he said that Bitcoin is a possible payment rail as well. So I was looking at some of the translations online, and the most common one said that Zavalny said, quote, "We've been offering China to switch to transacting in national currencies such as the ruble and the renminbi for a while now. With Turkey, that would be the lira and ruble. Currency sets can be different. It's a common practice. If it would be necessary to trade with Bitcoin, we'd do it." And he went on to say during that press conference that Western currencies have turned into candy wrappers and that Russia has lost interest in euros and dollars. So again, that puts a spotlight on some of the things we've talked about in previous shows, which is that the global financial system that's pegged by the US dollar being the global reserve currency seems to be fracturing and crumbling. So not long after that headline out of Russia, we saw another bullish development for Bitcoin on the oil front. ExxonMobil is going to be running a pilot project to supply flared gas for Bitcoin mining. This is gas that would otherwise be wasted from North Dakota oil wells. And due to the lack of pipelines, it would have otherwise been basically burned off or flared, which is not good for the environment. So Bitcoin's ability to capture that stranded energy is, of course, one of the key innovations and competitive advantages of this industry. Exxon is not the first company to move in this direction. We saw ConocoPhillips announced a similar move recently, and both companies are working on reducing emissions to comply with the World Bank Zero Routine Flaring by 2030 initiative. Last thing I want to touch on, let's get an update from El Salvador. President Bukele took to Twitter reacting to the news that the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee passed the proposed ACES Act that stands for Accountability for Cryptocurrency in El Salvador, and it's now heading to a full Senate vote. Bukele posted part of the bill on his Twitter page saying, quote, "Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that the U.S. government would be afraid of what we are doing here." Now, the bill, if you're not familiar with it, not a lot of people thought it would pass out of committee, but it aims at mitigating the risks that some U.S. policymakers feel that El Salvador's adoption of Bitcoin poses to the U.S. financial system. And you might recall that back when this bill was first introduced, Bukele tweeted, quote, "Okay, boomers, you have zero jurisdiction on a sovereign and independent nation. Don't try to control something you can't control." So he's doubling down on that sentiment. He basically said that the US doesn't stand for freedom and that that's a proven fact. So they're going to stand for freedom, game on. And he called Bitcoin FU money. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more news from El Salvador in the coming weeks. You know, Bukele is getting ready to speak at the Bitcoin conference in Miami, where Abra is going to be. So we'll be sure to be listening to that announcement announcement. He also just hosted the CEO of Binance. And right now he has Mexican billionaire Ricardo Salinas in town. So he's got a lot going on as he prepares to launch that $1 billion Bitcoin bond offering, which has been delayed. It was supposed to be released in mid-March, but his administration is claiming that the law hasn't gone to Congress yet because they're prioritizing pension reform. So those are the biggest stories. And it's really been an interesting week because a lot of the biggest headlines came, just in the last 2 days. So Bill, I'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Natalie. So what is your take on what's happening with the narrative? Because I listened to Yellen's comments and it's truly astounding. I mean, this is a historic kind of month for crypto markets because I feel like the conversation has changed, right? I mean, Bitcoin is simply being accepted as a viable reserve asset, right? I mean, the idea that a representative would be saying, yeah, we're considering accepting oil payments for Bitcoin. I mean, that was the dream scenario for many Bitcoiners 8-9 years ago, right? I mean, and now here we are listening to Janet Yellen commenting on that commentary, and all of this dialogue now where countries are basically issuing Bitcoin bonds. I mean, how do you reconcile what's happening right now?
Yeah, Bill, I think it's really interesting because there almost seems to be a convergence of bullish and bearish sentiment among policymakers. The executive order was for the most part, I think a really great development because it didn't come down hard on Bitcoin. It basically said that the US wants to be competitive and wants to take advantage of the innovation in this industry. But at the same time, it also talked a lot about CBDCs, which Bitcoiners are not a fan of because that's just, digitizing the fiat system. But, we see Janet Yellen sort of making this turnaround, and it's very different than her comments last year when she was really putting the hammer down on crypto. And it seemed to be that, the US wouldn't embrace the technology. Yet at the same time, we have still Senator Warren coming out against Bitcoin. We have policymakers who are coming down on El Salvador's decision to adopt it as if it impacts the United States. So I think we're seeing a really interesting clash and a really interesting sort of development of how U.S. Congress members are looking at this technology. And I think that there's going to be a major shift. I think this is what's showing us that, potentially we're going to have some more Bitcoiners coming into office. It's going to be a topic of conversation when elections and debates come up. And so for the most part, I mean, based on Yellen's comments today, I'm feeling very positive about the outlook.
Yeah. I mean, it's as I said, it's truly an astounding and almost historic kind of look. On the one hand, what's happening in the Ukraine is as we talked about in person last week, horrific, and especially for Abra employees and their families affected in Ukraine, it just makes me want to cry every time I bring it up. But on the other hand, this is really what many of us have been waiting for in terms of the narrative switching to this is de facto here to stay, and we all know that. But the idea that people who work for presidents are talking about it, or presidents themselves, and that you have a president referring to Bitcoin as he said "F you money," but in English that really means an insurance policy against you, a tyrannical government, whoever that might be. I mean, some of us dreamed that it would happen, but now to see it happening, it's almost crazy to me that how fast, like literally overnight. I think February 26th was like the key date, right? In my mind, right? That was the day that, in my mind, the petrodollar ended, right? That was effectively the day we canceled Russia. And I think that will go down in history as the moment that Bitcoin arrived on the world stage.
I absolutely agree with you. And I think that no one thought about this really before, right? Even though we are seeing this inflation, it's certainly not as bad as inflation that is in other countries dependent on the US dollar. And I don't think that anyone saw the ability of the US dollar as global reserve currency to sort of vanish, that status to vanish as possible this quickly. And yet it seems to be something that Russia has been preparing for and China has been preparing for years. They've been trying to de-dollarize. I don't know if I mentioned it in the last episode, but Putin was saying back in 2011, he hates the US dollar. It's a parasite on the global economy, right? And I'm not sure how the US is going to save the dollar unless they embrace something like Bitcoin. And seeing that Russia is going to potentially accept payments in Bitcoin is also really fascinating in the sense that they're acknowledging, I think, the efficiency and the power of a decentralized network that they can never control and manipulate, which says something as well, right? Because they want to create their own digital currencies where they can surveil the public, they can have ultimate control over the supply. And yet there's this lawmaker who's saying, no, we might actually trade and accept Bitcoin. So I think it's huge. I think we're watching history play out and, potentially maybe the dollar's days are numbered.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see. But I mean, it's fascinating to watch in real time. We're living in historic times, as I think the chapter of Bretton Woods is coming to a close, and we don't even know what the end scene is going to look like in this movie. We have no idea. I mean, we kind of know where it's moving towards. How are we going to get there? How does that change the dollar, the yuan, the euro? Are we heading towards a bigger war? It's really incredible. Anyway, Natalie, thank you so much for your commentary. Super interesting as always. And we'll look forward to seeing you in Miami soon. But of course, before that, we'll see you next week on Money Talks.
Thanks so much. See you next week.
Okay, take care. All right. So thanks again, Natalie. So coming up next, we're going to talk about markets. We're going to talk about some of the things that I think are really moving things around. So we're going to get into some charts, my price predictions. And first, though, let's take a look at how easy it is to make crypto trades on Abra.
Trading on Abra is easy. Just click the exchange button. Tap the source you'd like to trade. Tap on what you'd like to trade it for. Type in the amount. Then click trade. Tap, type, trade. Totally easy on Abra.
All right, so let's get into some crypto analysis here. It's been a crazy week. Let me, while I'm starting my dialogue here, let me start sharing my screen to show you some stuff. Don't want to do that. Accidentally press leave meeting. Don't want to do that. That would be bad. Okay, so I'm going to share. There we go. All right, so while you all are looking at my my trusty Bitcoin chart here, let me just make a few comments. So I spent an hour in a panel on Real Vision's crypto gathering this week with Caitlin Long and who else? I just did a brain freeze. I apologize. Dan Moorhead from Pantera, brilliant guy. And we got into the macros of where Bitcoin's going and why and the state of the world. And so here's my take. And this is kind of an extension of what we just talked about with Natalie. I think that basically gold in the short term is going to be the big winner here. When you try to cancel a country, which is what we did in Russia, when you basically block 20% of the world's oil from moving around, there's going to be a pushback. Right? They're not going to take this lying down. It's like a cat backed into a corner. Eventually, it's going to fight back. And I think gold ultimately will be the short-term winner because accounts can be settled in gold. Basically, Russia will take oil for gold, and it will be very hard for them to prevent China and others from buying that oil. Okay. Now, at the same time, people are going to look at this and go, well, wait a minute. This Bitcoin this gold, is really hard to move around. Very hard to settle. At the same time, we have this asset that's worth over $1 trillion in Bitcoin that's really easy to move around, really easy to settle, right? Generally fungible. Why aren't we using this instead? So I think Bitcoin becomes the midterm winner from all of this. Now, we've been talking exclusively about Bitcoin, but I think that Ethereum is going to get a massive halo effect from everything going on. Now, there's two types of stable coins that are generally used today. The first is dollar-backed stable coins, where Tether, USDC, USDT, and others like Pax Dollar are all basically backed by dollars in a bank account. And then there's a second type of stable coin, which is actually algorithmic, which is backed by other crypto assets, such as DAI or the UST, the Terra Luna dollar. Okay, and I've got a really exciting announcement for next week's show about our guest who is the creator of the Terra Luna dollar, which we'll get into later. But this is a big deal, right? Because now you have a stable coin that uses the Ethereum network in DAI, right? Or in Luna running on Terra, that doesn't require dollars in a bank account. It's actually backed by Bitcoin. It's a synthetic dollar using Bitcoin. That means that as the amount of money in the stablecoin grows, the amount of Bitcoin that has to be purchased to lock in the stablecoin is going to explode. So not only are these layer one smart contract protocols going to explode like Ethereum, but the amount of Bitcoin locked is going to explode. I would not be surprised if Terra Luna becomes let's call it the grayscale trade of the next year. What is the grayscale trade? So last year, when Bitcoin price was going through the roof, right, late 20, early 21, a lot of it was based upon people buying the grayscale trust product. In some cases to capture the premium in a derivative trade, but in some cases because it was just easy to buy as the price was going up. Now, the question becomes, let me go down here to Luna. Luna has been one of the best performing crypto assets of the past 6 months. So while everything else was tanking, here we have Luna basically going, up from February all the way up through here in late March. It's pulled back a little bit the last few days, right? So and they just announced a $10 billion purchase of Bitcoin to facilitate their UST dollar. Okay, so we'll have him on next week to talk about this. Duke Wan next week on Money Talks to talk about this in more detail. I'm really excited about it, but the implications here for the crypto markets are incredible. All right, so let's go back to Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been trading in this channel between 36,000 and effectively 45,000 for about a month now. And generally, when you get in this channel and you're about to break through, you don't break through straight. It doesn't mean you just don't slice right through. I suspect we'll get a pullback to somewhere around 42,500, maybe this weekend, maybe early next week, and then break through. Now, I could be wrong. We could break through in the next hour for all I know. We did break through 45,000 about an hour ago before the show. And we've since pulled back, which is what I expected to happen. I actually didn't expect this to break through 45K the first time. I expected a pullback and then a move higher. And make no mistake, I would be shocked at this point, given the narrative, unless there's some super, super bearish news that drags down all markets, equities, et cetera, I'd be shocked if we didn't basically have a small pullback and then a second retest of the channel, which on the second attempt or third attempt is successful and gets us back to 50,000. Now, the big winner here, in my opinion, is going to be Ethereum of the big boys in crypto. All right. Now, I said this morning. I was on Yahoo TV. I had to run upstairs to my office. I was doing a TV interview just before I came on Money Talks, where I was talking about this. I think that between the NFT market, the DeFi markets, the stablecoin market, which I just described with UST. By the way, UST and Luna are both on Abra now. For those of you not aware, I think Ethereum is with the pending upgrade to the Beacon chain happening in a few weeks this summer. I think Ethereum is primed for a massive move to the upside. This is just my belief. I don't have a crystal ball. I could be completely wrong, but that is certainly my belief. Okay, so at the same time, right? There's this belief that the interest rates paid on Ethereum staking, which we're working on adding to Abra, will go up significantly after the Beacon upgrade. Okay, where you could actually be earning more than 10% even on your Ethereum, which is something that, like I said, I am urgently trying to get live in Abra Earn as soon as possible. It's actually very complex. in terms of how it works. I'm not going to bore you with the technical details of Ethereum staking right now, but it's a non-trivial thing to add true staking on Ethereum to Abra. Okay, but we are working on it. Okay, so super interesting, and that means to me that we could literally see a 5 to 10x move on Ethereum this year. Like, I would not even be surprised to see like a 30 to 40K blow off top move over the next 12 to 18 months in Ethereum, right? And as I said before, I'm very bullish. Ethereum, Bitcoin, and C-Perks are my largest holdings now in crypto, and we have our token fund at Abra, but for my personal holdings, those are my largest holdings. Okay, so anyway, like I said, it really is looking good here for Bitcoin. We do need to break this channel. I suspect we're going to get. I'll just try to do this quickly here, see if this works. I suspect we'll get a pullback to here, right, somewhere in this kind of 42,500 range. And then I wouldn't be surprised if we get another move here, right, coming into early April, which has us kind of retesting, the high 40s going up to 50K up here. That would be, I think, a beautiful setup for us to retest the highs coming into late spring, which I think is going to happen. And I think it's going to propel Ethereum. I take that back. I think the Ethereum upgrade is going to propel the markets higher, and Bitcoin will get a halo effect from that, and we will enter into a new altcoin season as a result. That's my prediction. Y'all can basically judge me later on whether my prediction has any value whatsoever, but that's my conviction for where the markets are going. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to stop the screen share. And let's see. So what I would like to do is take a few more questions. We answered some of your questions earlier in the show. And again, we also talked about how you can now earn yield by staking with Abra. And we have C-Perks now live in Abra Earn. And of course, you still earn interest on your holdings with the rest of Abra Earn. And if you're not clear on how Abra Earn works, check this out. Okay, welcome back. I'm going to take some questions here that I see being teed up. Lots of C-Perks questions. I did answer some of them earlier. I'm seeing repeat questions, maybe because people joined later in the show. Yeah, so as a reminder, those of you waiting on weekly rewards, trade, earn, borrow Abra Perks rewards from this week started paying out this morning, about an hour ago. So those should get completed later today. If you have rewards payments pending, we have a huge backlog on those. So please be patient. They will be paid out. And I'm not going to take any more questions on it other than to say we have hundreds of thousands of people who've been joining Abra, many of whom have qualified with the rewards. They're not all paid out at the same time. So if you say, what's the date? I can't give you the dates because they're paid out over many, many days, given the huge number of payments that have to be made and the way that the system works in terms of accounting. It's very complex. Okay. All right. So Robert asks, will we be adding Terra Luna to Abra Earn? I hope so. I haven't seen, I know we have staking plans to launch a few coins. I don't know where we are with Terra Luna. I would love to have it in there. It's something that I've been spending a lot of time on lately is Luna, and some other DeFi projects related to it. And I'm super excited about our special guest coming on Money Talks next week, explicitly to talk about Terra Luna. So, Robert, we're going to get into Terra Luna a lot more. I don't have a specific date or promise on adding Luna to earn, but personally, I would love to see it happen. And if I get any news that it is, I will certainly let you know. Okay. So let's see. So again, a lot of people asking, if you hold C-Perks in Abra Earn, it still counts toward your membership level. We take the total amount in trade and the total amount in earn, and we add them up, and that determines your membership level or tier inside the Abra app. Okay. All right. So that's memberships and C-Perks. Yes, somebody was asking, is C-Perks one of my largest holdings? I actually purchased a lot of C-Perks this year. I got my airdrop just like all of you, and then I purchased a whole bunch more over the last few months, and I'm holding for the long term. I have no interest in selling. Many of you are asking, again, this has been addressed. When trading for selling will come back on for C-Perks. The reason it's complicated. We're not trying to screw anyone. I can't sell just like you can't sell. We do have an OTC desk that's available for really large bulk trades. So if you want to sell in a huge amount, you can contact the sales team and they'll try to do it for you. But in any small amounts, I can't sell just like you can't. And the reason is that right now we don't support true market orders in the Abra app. We actually batch the orders, and that creates a huge spread given that C-Perks is a new token and has lower liquidity, right? And so when we launch market orders, it's been delayed because of the Ukraine situation. We actually had staff in the Ukraine who are now offline. Some of them are actually fighting, and my heart go out to them. But it has affected our release dates for market orders, and we will get caught up in the next couple of weeks. And then trading will be turned back on for C-Perks for all of us, myself included. Okay. So a little complicated as to why, but trust me, there's a very good reason as to why it's happening. Okay. So if you're getting that message that, you're trading, the error message looks like you've entered an amount that's too high. It's just our way of basically saying that C-Perks trading for sells is just not available right now. And hopefully it will be coming soon. Okay. Not hopefully, it will be coming soon when we turn on market orders. So this is a question I never thought I would get in my entire life. What is my secret to being so handsome? I'm going to assume that that's sarcasm, and I'm going to say thank you in equally sarcastic way back. So appreciate the comments. So anyway. Will in-kind APY ever go up again? I remember the sweet days when stablecoins were at 11 to 13%. So Richie, Abra, to my knowledge, pays the highest in-kind rates on USD stablecoins in the crypto space. I believe the rate is currently at 8%. All of my liquid dollars are in Abra Earn. In the combination of USDT and USDC, which is what I use. Many of you use Tether. I don't. I use TrueUSD and Circle USDC, and again, it's all the same. It all pays 8%, and it's a very high amount. It's not driven by our marketing team. It's driven by our lending team, which basically is driven by market demand and the rates that people pay when they borrow dollars, and they borrow dollars in a way that passes muster with our risk management systems, which I've talked about many, many times on the show. So our goal, and it's the same goal for my money as your money, is to pay the safest yield possible at the highest level possible, but within the parameters of managing risk, so that none of us are taking any significant risk with our money. Okay. So keep in mind that while the in-kind rate on Bitcoin and Ethereum is between 2 and 2.5%, at the highest tier, you're actually getting another 5% paid on C-Perks, which gives you an effective rate of 7%. That's huge. So hopefully you're all recognizing that. And the Abra Earn section of the app was just upgraded. So if you go in there, you can actually see both the in-kind rates, meaning the rate in dollars, and then the rewards rate that you're getting. And the more C-Perks you stake, the faster you get to that tier, right? So that's one of the reasons why I bought so much C-Perks is I wanted to make sure I was at that tier. And I felt like, the price is too low right now. So I'm just buying more because I know, we're going to be doing some awesome stuff with C-Perks in the coming months. Somebody mentioned NFT games. I'm not going to give it all away, but we've got some really cool ideas for C-Perks that we're working on. And I'm really excited about it. So Richie, thanks for the comments on stablecoin interest earning. I agree with you on that. So a lot of you are asking about why 3%. So to be honest, the biggest reason why we started at 3% is that we don't have an infinite supply of C-Perks. We just don't print it. We're not the government. We don't print money. We were given a grant of C-Perks, and we're using part of that grant to give you rewards. Now, over time, we are going to have to buy more C-Perks back to pay rewards. Okay, we'll see how that evolves over time. We would like to raise the rates over time. We may do special promotions with the Crypto Banking Alliance to raise the C-Perks rate. We also wanted to start off with a rate that we knew we wouldn't lower anytime soon. So if anything, I only see the rate going up potentially, or potentially doing one-off promotions where you would get an effectively higher rate. But I didn't want to be in a position to have to lower the rate. And so when we discussed it internally, 3% made sense as a good starting point, and we can go from there. Now, look, this is free money, folks, right? You're using Abra, you're effectively earning free rewards. So complaining about the rate, honestly, is a little silly. Okay, it's like saying I'm getting free money, but I wish it was more free money. Well, we all wish it was more free money. Okay, so just be realistic about what you're thinking, and it should all make sense to you. So, okay, thanks, Rita. I agree with the comments on ETH. I think it's really interesting what's going on, and I appreciate your compliment there. Let's see. Yeah. Somebody else asking how much of C-Perks that is available has already been staked. 60% of the CPRX C-Perks that is being held in Abra is already in Abra Earn, and that's after 4 days. So in English, that means that more than half of the C-Perks in Abra that's in circulation is now outside of Abra Trade and can't be traded because it's being held in Abra Earn, earning 3% interest. That's huge. Okay. And it's just going to get better because it's only been 4 days. Right. So I'm really bullish on it. Like I said, I'm not selling. I love it. I bought some more. That's my take on C-Perks. Jim asks, when are we going to get an Abra credit card? Jim, that's a great question. I'm not going to give away product features. My team gets very upset when I do that. And so sorry, we're all going to have to wait and see what happens on the credit card front. Okay. All right. So we are at 62 minutes. And so we're over time. I will take a couple more questions. So I will hang on as long as you're willing here for a couple more minutes. Again, the pending rewards are being paid. They takes many, many days to get those rewards paid. And they will get out to you as soon as possible. All right. Yeah. So let me see if there's any other questions. Don't get stressed out and take care of your health. That is really good advice, Coin Notes. This is not worth risking your health over. It is just money at the end of the day. It's very important. We take it seriously, but please take care of yourselves. If you're too stressed by looking at the charts, looking at the price, turn off the screen, go for a walk, take care of yourself. All right. Let's see. And Samuel asks, can I choose for rewards in Cardano versus C-Perks? So Samuel, we only pay in kind on the actual earn amount. And then on top of that, you get the C-Perks rewards. So you actually get both in Abra Earn, depending upon your member tier. Now, if you want to get into the highest tier, you simply buy enough C-Perks if you haven't already earned them, and you're going to get the 5% in C-Perks on top of what you're currently getting for Cardano. I don't remember what the exact interest rate is on Cardano. I do have some in Abra Earn, but it's my smallest holding, so I don't remember the exact rates. But you actually get both depending upon how much C-Perks you hold. Okay. Somebody asks, C-Perks from earn will be taxed. And so, John, the answer is for the piece that you earn as staking rewards, the answer is yes. Anything you earn in earn paid as a reward, meaning if I get a bonus reward for my Bitcoin, that C-Perks is not taxed. The C-Perks you get for staking your C-Perks itself, that is income. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So let's see. Let's take one more question. Can I give C-Perks to my children to help them get a higher tier? Dave, in theory, yes. If they have an Abra wallet, you can transfer C-Perks from your Abra app to their Abra app. The challenge with transferring C-Perks is that's an on-chain transaction, which incurs gas fees on the Ethereum network. We can't stop that. We are working on a way to transfer C-Perks person to person without going on chain. That would avoid the gas fee. So just be aware that, yes, you can transfer the C-Perks to another person, but you are going to have to pay a gas fee in doing that, which is annoying. And I apologize. Hopefully that will get better on the Ethereum network over time. Okay. Yeah, so that's true. Paul is absolutely correct. He says you can send True USD for free and they can buy the C-Perks with True USD. Of course, what am I saying? That's a great idea. Paul, you should take over Money Talks. Paul's going to come on next week and he's going to host the AMA, and then I can relax and Paul's going to actually give smarter answers than I am. So yes, you can basically send True USD to your kids, which doesn't require an on-chain transaction, and then they can buy the C-Perks directly from their app. Okay. And Paul did this himself. I know many of you outside the US use XRP for this because the fees for XRP are so low. But in the US, you can also do it with True USD since that's an off-chain transaction with Abra. Okay. I'm going to stop there. Thanks, Paul, again for chiming in. That was an excellent idea. And I'm going to call it there. Hopefully everybody is doing well. I'm excited about what we're doing with all of the product releases. Hopefully, if you haven't, you'll move your C-Perks into Abra Earn. Keep trading, folks. Keep earning your C-Perks in Abra Trade. The spreads have come way down. I'm using Abra Trade a lot more now. It's a fantastic product, and it's just going to get better. Okay, so we'll end there. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next week on Money Talks.